what I do know is it's time for some Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. I did not think about the chat here, so I may just remove the chat depending on where it shows up on screen. I've been wanting to play this on here for a while now. I like this game a lot, and the more I think about it, the more I like this game. We're just going to start with the fresh file first here. Just do some normal. I probably should have just done casual, but too late. I'm just going to skip the story. So, I mean, this game is very much... It's very much, you know, aiming to replicate not only NES Castlevanias, but specifically Castlevania 3, and a lot of things actually come from Rondo Blood, as far as I can tell. And it's like, if you're looking at this part of the game, like what we're seeing here, this is pretty much Castlevania in terms of like you jump and you can't, like, you don't have any air momentum. And then also when you do an attack, it's not just like, hey, there's your attack. He has an animation where he goes and takes his sword out and then swipes, and it's very quick, so it's like hard to see. It's, you know, I don't think it's as apparent as like a whip animation. But pretty much you have kind of a delayed attack, and you have to kind of think about that. I don't think it's as delayed as the whip is. It's probably a pretty quick rollout for him, but yeah, this is pretty much your normal Castlevania stuff, and for a bonus game for Castlevania, like for Bloodstained, and I'm gonna do a really bad job because I'm not thinking much. As a bonus game to Bloodstained, you know, like. You don't really need it to be much more than that. And for this stage, this is pretty much what it's just going to be. And I haven't really thought too much about like how to show this game off very well. Okay, there's like branching paths here, so like it looks like you could probably come out that door from the other side. I'm trying to remember how you'd get around there. But basically, those little skeleton guys down there, like the one on the far bottom left right there, he like points you to like a special path kind of thing, or the right path. With this base level guy, there's not a lot that he can do. I don't know why I'm turning around every time I slice. I think that's just my brain being bad. Oh jeez. There's not a lot he can do that's particularly special. He pretty much just has the standard Castlevania fare. So not a secret is that you unlock other characters in this game, and they all have different different movesets and stuff. So they like, depending on who you have with what sub abilities and stuff, like right here I can't get down through here, but if I had another character that could slide, or somehow, you know, get down to 1 square in size, then it's not or rather it's just like usually like a shortcut, or like basically an alternate path if you don't like a path particularly, or sometimes they'll have like secret items in those areas, things like that. There's like a level up system almost, but it's more based around like power ups you find in the level. You can get like attack up, defense up, stuff like that. Like Castlevania, you have sub weapons. Different is that in the top right corner you can see like you have weapon energy. I can't remember if there's a heart here. Doesn't look like it. You have weapon energy, and so instead of just like using hearts, it's like an actual just number amount, and you can increase the number of weapon energies you have. I'm gonna stick with the little like anti-talisman thing here. So this game is made by Indie Creates, and you can really tell by the boss design that it is just like it's a very pattern-focused boss design, or very pattern-focused game in terms of the bosses. Like everything that's going to happen is just going to happen every time for the most part, and that will never change. And as long as you know the pattern, you can pretty much avoid anything pretty easily. Which is good and bad. You know, the first time you play, that means it feels challenging, but if you were to like try to follow up, okay, here, sit there. If you try to like follow up or play again, it becomes very obvious how to dodge a lot of these things. On the bright side, like playing through this game again, there's actually a lot of replayability. And like on certain modes, the bosses are harder. Oops, I didn't make it. And so they add new moves to their pattern to try to mix up a bit. Like the harder version of this has these flames that they leave like flame piles on the ground, and you can hit those flame piles, make them go away, and so you basically hit them, and then they go away and you're safe. Each boss has a suicide move, so you have to just find the way to dodge it. In this case of this guy, you just hide back here. So that's pretty straightforward stuff on the first part of this. And then like Castlevania 3, you know, you get a partner essentially out of these fights, and you can go over and recruit them into your group. Even though he doesn't seem particularly happy to recruit them into the group, he's always like, oh, you're kind of a shitty person. And then you can really quickly swap between them. So you have, you know, Miriam here, who's the main character of the main game, and her big differences are not only the whip, she also has like a slide attack, which if I were in that previous level, I would have been able to use, but you can't get there on your first playthrough. So secret, you got to do other modes where you can play as her at that first level. Slides, she also jumps higher than him, so it's like an extra square. So, which honestly, like, it sounds great, and then you try to platform with her and then realize all your muscle memory is built for all the other characters, and so you just jump to your death over and over again. So yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time on this level with this character setup, because, you know, for the most part, it's like, hey, this is just kind of this. You can switch characters, you can choose who you want. You know, each has their own health bar, you can see up there. So you can switch between them. But if you die, it still kind of is treated like a death to some extent, because like you go back to the most recent checkpoint. But you don't lose a life until all 4 party members are dead. At the same time, like when I was talking about earlier, where you can like basically juggle their health, they keep their health after you die. So if you leave this guy with like 1 HP, he's probably not going to get very far on his own. So there's some benefit to like making sure everybody stays at like high health. So normally this guy can't get up there. Miriam can though, and that guy's pointing that way, saying, hey, go this way, and usually there's like a power up on that path or something, or it's an easier path, something like that. So I think we're gonna, and then each character has their own special sub weapons and stuff, very Castlevania like sub weapons for the most part. Yeah, we'll go ahead and stop this. Curious real quick, does this, I wonder if that saves. We're going to do Curse of the Moon here. Curse of the Moon essentially lets you rewind time on your save files. The reason why I have so many save files is because each mode requires a different save file. Which I wonder if I can copy it. Nope. Nope. I lied. So we're going to play this one. This is with all 4 characters. This is going to be the last level, but we're not going to play it. So spoilers, there's the last level. So anyways, you can go back to these older stages. There's like 8 stages it looks like. So I'm trying to think of a good stage. I feel like Blasphemy Unto Heaven is a good one. So we're gonna go here. Maybe it's not, who knows, but anyway, so this is with the full set of 4 characters. And it's kind of nice because, like, because old Castlevania 3, like, you only could have 2 characters. But in this one, not only do you have all 4 characters, like, it is ridiculously fast to switch them out. So it's like, hey, you know, like, I'm going to start with this, but I'm not start with this, but I'm not gonna be able to reach them, so I can switch to Miriam and then finish them off like that, you know. Or I'm going to start with Miriam and come in, and then as I get closer, I will switch over to him to do more damage. So, you know, she has the reach, like on a boss or something, if you're trying to hit a weak point. You can start hitting the boss ahead of time and then switch over to what's-his-face and pretty much lose no time if you, like, sit here and do this. Time is pretty much frozen. And it doesn't come out so much in this part of the gameplay. And then each character has their own sub-weapons and stuff that they have on their own. Dying loses the character, not permanently, but until all 4 characters are dead, or till the next stage as well. So like if what's his name, Jebel or something like that was dead, I wouldn't be able to do this part. Turn into a bat, dash there. Unturning the bat. Otherwise, I'd have to go up and go the boring way. And so, like, in a lot of ways, this game kind of reminds me of Castlevania 4, which is weird because Castlevania 4, even though this is based off Castlevania 3, Castlevania 4 is a very enabling game. And to the degree that the game doesn't feel designed around the fact of all these abilities they give you, this game really feels like not only do they enable you to do a lot of things, like people have really far reach, and like you can switch to whoever, like as this arc that he can do, and then like each person's sub weapons, you know, can pretty easily handle a lot of things in this game if you use the right person. And Castlevania 4 kind of has that, but it's like more or less the whip is God, and if you use that whip, it will take care of everything. Even though they're sub-weapons, but they're not even really important. One thing I do like doing, and you know, they each have their own weaknesses, so it's like, oh, yeah, we can't kill these little rats. One thing I do like doing is, and I'll see if I can find a good part to show it off. Well, one thing you can do as well is like you can put on this barrier and then switch to another character. So while this guy has like such a tiny, slow reach, and this barrier, like, you know, can attack enemies if I get close enough, I can go over to like a close range character and still get the benefits of that flame circle that, you know, normally wouldn't be that useful, or at least you'd be taking a big power hit if you could only do this, you know, like if you could only run around as this guy. He has a lot low health too, and you can just like switch between them. This guy gets like a damage buff, and then so that's really useful in some fights where, you know, you're trying to reach something but you can't, so you use the damage buff on this guy and then switch over to Miriam and use long range stuff. He also has like moves that like freeze. And for the most part, everyone is viable in this game. Like, I know that it seems challenging to use something like that, like the old guy there, but I've played through an entire level with just the old guy on accident once. Not on accident, but I kept surviving everything, beat a boss and everything. So yeah, then you lose them, and then you lose that benefit of that character, and you slowly lose more and more people so you're down to your last one. In the case that one time was the old man, and it's kind of interesting because now that the old man's gone, you know, if there was something where it was like that earlier, that guy was on fire, and if I had the ice spell, I would have been able to just get past. But now I have to go the other way. So not only am I seeing new areas, but also there's like if Gebel was dead here, this part's actually pretty difficult when you don't have like an angled attack. Even now it's pretty difficult, to be honest, but it's a lot easier when you don't have that. But say it's like, oh, Gebel makes the most sense for that, and then I'm like, well, now I have to use Miriam, and I found out, oh wait, no, actually Miriam can just do this, which I literally just figuring out now, but I kind of figured after I thought about it for a second. It's like Miriam's probably actually the better one, and it makes you rethink how you approach these challenges, even though it's very slight stuff. And the game just like really thinks about the characters and how they all mesh to each other and how to get through the levels with those characters. That's fine. I wonder if you can use Curse the Moon to go forward again, or if that's just forever stuck on that stage. Looks like it's just stuck on that stage, so rest in peace, stage. We're just gonna bust all my save files, apparently. That's okay. This game is like, it takes like an hour or two to get through at best. So another neat thing is that there's actually another way to play this game where you don't have any partners. I'm trying to think of what would be a good stage to do. Let's do this one. So basically, you know, I'm by myself and I have my usual attacks here. You saw already I have like a swipe attack that's a bit different. But not only that, but I have a dash, which doesn't seem very fast, but for Castlevania, that's a lot faster. It's like basically 2 times speed. It's probably not 2 times speed, but you can move around a lot easier. And then even more so, you have a double jump. And that double jump you can actually change the direction of in the air, but it still follows the Castlevania properties of once you've jumped, you've committed to that direction. So it's got its own unique feel. There's the double power one. And this stage that would normally be like, you know, you trudging about, like going up these stairs like this, suddenly becomes like this very, you know, hectic action-based thing where you can just jump up these staircases and, like, you know, blow through this stuff essentially. And it just feels like a completely different game, but at the same time the level design is still very Castlevania. Whoops. And you still die. It's still very Castlevania. And this does, in the same way, kind of reminds me of Castlevania 4, just because you're so much more able to go around the level and do stuff, but it's just, it feels a lot more thought out. Like, the game feels designed around this stuff. You know, you would think that, like, oh, putting something super, you know, some super fast mode into, or not super fast, but, you know, a faster mode into Castlevania, like in a straight up 8-bit Castlevania, wouldn't particularly fit well. Like, you'd think these staircases would be, like, not beneficial to the game design at all, but it makes it so, like, the levels just feel very different, because at some points you can just be like, oh, I'm just gonna oh, never mind, not there. At some points, like, you're able to jump up on platforms you not, maybe not weren't able to jump onto before, but you might not have been able to reach as conveniently. Let me see, I might be able to do this. This might be too far though. It doesn't feel like a good jump. Yeah, that feels a little too far, but there's a lot of places like that where you, or not like that, where you can kind of get around fairly easily. And I'm just going to die a bunch. Also, because you only have one character, you have to be a lot more mindful of your health pool, especially now that, like, the game is, like, a lot faster paced, and, you know, if you're smarter about how you move and not streaming the game and, like, trying to talk about it, there's just a lot of stuff to like about this game. Like, this may be my, like, favorite NES style Castlevania. I've never played Castlevania 2. I take a strong guess that Castlevania 2 may not be my favorite. But, you know, eventually I'll get to that one. But this game, not only, like you can play through the whole game with just this guy doing this, or doing, not that, but, you know, running, slicing, then doing this normal attack through the air. You know, the usual hobbob, like, oh, this is just the jump I'm gonna do, like, no matter what. You can play it that way, and I didn't because I didn't want to, but like, you can not only play it that way, but you can play it with like all the partner characters, and you know, that has its own unique feeling that's different from even Castlevania 3, just because, you know, the sheer accessibility of all the characters, and the ability to really, nope, bad idea. The ability to really use each character's benefits, because like one thing I think about with like Castlevania 3 is that when you only have 2 characters, like as you go through the game, there's gonna be parts where like, oh, Alucard would be good here, but you don't have access to Alucard, so it's not really gonna be a part of your playthrough, you know. But with this, you know, for the most part, everything's gonna be at least like relatively accessible to you. I mean, obviously the character's dead. Or sorry, not like this, but like the mode we were playing earlier. Obviously the character's dead, then you don't have access, but you know, by the time you die and, you know, are reborn again with a fresh set of new characters, it opens everything back up again, and so I think it's kind of the best of both worlds, where it's like, yes, you can see the places where you would have benefited from so-and-so skill in this game if that character's dead, but it's like a lot more immediate for you to have to be able to like satisfy that curiosity from like a Metroidvania kind of standpoint, like, oh, if I come back here with that party member alive, it's fine, versus like having to play through the entirety of Castlevania 3 with you know, a single partner that let's see if we die. Nope. There you go. With playing a single character, you know, through that whole playthrough, and then you lose the benefit of all the other characters, things like that. And then like this mode, it feels like its own entirely different thing. And admittedly, like a friend pointed out, there's like, hey, this kind of looks like Ninja Gaiden. And I've watched some Ninja Gaiden. I've never played Ninja Gaiden, unfortunately. I have watched some Ninja Gaiden, and I think there's something very different about it, just like in terms of the movement of this game. Like, you know, you still are confined by like in the case of like, you know, normal play, you wouldn't be able to jump up there. Maybe with Miriam you could actually, but I'm gonna die instead. But in the case of like normal play, I don't feel like Ninja Gaiden, as far as what I've seen, has like this same like locked feel that Castlevania has, and then like readapted into like a I guess I'm just trying to say readapted into like a Castlevania form. Like everything about this game feels like Castlevania, and then like goes beyond what Castlevania is. Like this mode, as far as I know, there's not like any Castlevania mode on like old 8-bit systems that plays like this. I mean, maybe you might be able to like make an argument for Richter is a very flexible character, and specifically like Symphony of the Night. I would have to think about Rondo Blood. I'd probably have to like look at Rondo Blood again, and see like how flexible he is in that. I remember he has like the backflip and stuff, which is a very, you know, strict backwards momentum versus like this where you can kind of jump anywhere. And I think he has a dash in Symphony of the Night, but I don't think that's in Rondo Blood. I think he just walks in Rondo Blood. So yeah, it's just like this feels in a lot of ways like a completely different branch of Castlevania. But it's like, not only is it like, oh, this is what Bloodstained is, this is what a mode in Bloodstained is, and then they also iterated on Castlevania 3 in a way that makes it feel really unique. And then also, you know, you can make an argument of like, oh, like you could play Castlevania 3 without another character and just make it basically NES Castlevania. Same kind of deal with this. You could play it like just this guy and then not like getting these powers and just like, you know, go like this and stab your way through the whole game. I went back to the beginning somehow because I'm not paying attention. But that's probably good enough. I like this game a lot. I hope to have an article up on it fairly soon. And I would highly recommend checking it out. Like $10 is a pretty steep high price point for like $1 or for like an hour to 2 hour game or something like that. But like there's a really high level of replayability. I would recommend if you play through the game and there's 2 endings that are very easy to get, or like it's very, very, maybe not easy to get is the right word, but like they are easy to get. This game is not particularly challenging, I'll say that, even though I'm sitting here dying a bunch on stream. But there's 2 obvious endings, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and then after that it becomes a lot harder to figure out exactly what the game wants you to do to get to these different modes, because they all stem off the same, not all of them, making a mess out of this, but basically like you can play this mode here particularly from the start. You just gotta know what you need to do to get these power-ups and stuff. So I recommend playing through the first 2 arcs, and then if you unless you plan to if you can't figure it out, just look it up on the internet and and see what mode is what and how to get it. Like, I don't want to spoil for you how you're supposed to get this stuff. I guess it's kind of a spoiler, not really, but